If the strange lights in the sky, the shadows you see in the woods, and the whispers coming from the closet are all connected to something bigger. Tonight, we open the mailbag of the macabre and face your questions head on, from UFOs and aliens to Bigfoot, demons, haunting possibility that we're living in a simulation. Medium Scott Davis joins me tonight to help uncover the truth behind the anomalies that surround us. We do that next right here on your home for the very best in paranormal programming. I'm Dave Schrader, and this is my Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. He won't float. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Good evening, my darklings, and welcome to the show. Scotty the Medium is here with us again this evening. Hey, Scotty, welcome.
What's up, Dave? How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. We're going to miss our buddy Sarah tonight, folks. She's in, Ireland, Scotland, England? Where is she?
Somewhere that is not the United States. That's all I can tell you. Having a lot of fun, by the way.
Excellent. So she is out and about, and if you want to join with her on any of her upcoming trips or projects, you can always check out her website. But tonight, the one true professional showed up for the job, and Scotty did too. No.
Got me.
I want to go into some things. I just got back from this phenomenal event, Phanomicon, out in Salt Lake City, Vernal, Utah. An amazing event. This is my third year. They've done 5 in a row. I'm hoping that I'll be back again next year. But listening and talking to the people, first of all, I had so many people come up to say how much they enjoy listening to the Paranormal 60. And they really enjoy the episodes when I have you and Sarah on and we can talk together and kind of share insights and intel on these different weird facets of the supernatural. And
cool.
As we watch this weekend unfold, listening to many different speakers, from people that are working on the Skinwalker Ranch to alien abductees to ghost researchers and experiencers to Bigfoot and other cryptid hunters, if you will. It's fascinating to see how this all goes around. But one thing that kept coming up, and one thing I discussed in our big final panel, was the fact that I'm starting to think, as weird as this sounds, Scotty, there may be something to this fact that we are living in some kind of a AI run matrix, a false world, only because I can watch some people influence the reality of a situation. And I don't mean by lying or gaslighting somebody, but, we talk about what we discuss as manifestation and intention setting.
Yeah.
It's like magic, right? I mean, when you look at it from the very limited scope we have as humanity, it looks like magic when you consider what's going on. In another way, it also looks like maybe a computer program that's learning and figuring out how to navigate this Sims world that we're living in.
Oh.
It's weird. Do you think we would have a conscious understanding of that as that AI? Are we becoming the event horizon where the anomaly is coming to life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I like that. It's interesting. For us as adults, we learn so much as we age, right? And we become more intelligent, I hope, and smarter, and we learn and have wisdom.
Right.
And we learn that things that don't always go our way, but certainly if we put in hard work and we want something and we work towards it, we can influence the things around us. And I use you as a big idea towards that, because I've said this many times. I watched you on Holzer Files. We didn't know each other, and I was sitting with a glass of whiskey and watching you, and I told my wife, I really like Dave. I really hope that someday I get to meet him and maybe work with him. And then, a year and a half, 2 years later, our paths crossed and we became friends, almost like somebody out there was like, these two guys do need to meet and we should put them together. And it took somebody in between. So it's like the netting started to mesh together, and here we are. So yeah, I think that there might be something out there learning and putting us together.
So I mean, some people prize it to God or the universe or the Force, depending on which star you enjoy, Wars or Trek better, right? But when you look at all of the things going on, and especially let's just examine the last 10 years, okay? This world seems like the programmers are getting bored with the Sims environment they're in. And every day it's like, let's burn Los Angeles and see how people react. Let's shoot up a school and see how people react. Let's bigger, grander scale things like COVID striking, right? And while COVID is kind of spreading around the planet and everybody's in this weird panic, it's a weird time for me to think, but the government suddenly starts disclosing and releasing video of UFO footage. It's almost like, let's bury the headline underneath another headline and see how humanity responds. We have become more at odds now than dare I say ever. You can't, I mean, there are people willing to literally fight over anything right now. I can go, man, what a beautiful shade of blue the sky looks. And then you come out and go, well, it's more like a cerulean blue. Well, either way, I mean, no, it's cerulean blue. Okay, it's cerulean blue. Well, don't be a jerk, Dave. Well, I'm not being a jerk, Scotty. You're kind of being a jerk. And these fights are taking place. It's almost like something's amping up aggression. Something's amping up tensions between us. Maybe I'm just looking for trying to make something logical out of the illogical. But am I wrong? I mean, has the last 10 years been more out of sorts than any other period in your life?
No, and it's getting more and more strange. Things are getting more and more stressful. Even when life is going really well, there are so many stressors that I don't remember my parents having, things that I don't remember myself thinking about, even as like a teenager when I was pretty conscious and alert of my surroundings. Like, it's just getting more and more, it's like a pressure cooker, and it's all just pushing and pushing. And as you said, like, there's just things happening that you would never expect. Like one of the guys from Blink-182 talking about working with the government and talking about disclosure and aliens. How is this punk kid from California involved allegedly with some of the top officials of the United States government? What world do we live in where that's like a reality? It's this one, and it is super strange. And I'm pretty sure I didn't cross through any dimensional barriers that I know of. But you know what, Dave? Even my own mediumship, I say this all the time, I didn't go looking for it. It literally hit me in the head one day. And when I tried to disprove it, it just kept happening over and over again. And I was just like, oh, I guess this is what I can do this now, like a light switch. And it's so strange. So what happened? Where did things shift? And is there some puppet master out there doing this with us? And if so, could he take it easy on my shoulders?
Right. Well, do you pick up mediumistically that there is something, not God in the concept that we understand him to be or her to be, but do you feel that there is something unnatural that is now revealing itself to the way life is unfolding around the world? Or am I just trying to, like I said, make sense of the senseless?
No, I think that there's a big awakening happening, for the better, for the worse. And it feels like those people who are waking up, and I don't want to use the word enlightened, but we are becoming more conscious and aware, and we're able to effortlessly believe in things that we can't see. And that's called faith. And I think that's really important. And then there are people who are not experiencing that, and it is separating us big time. So the people who used to be just kind of like skeptics are now really coming after us about all of this stuff, and they don't want to understand it. And there are people who are becoming more and more aggravated, and they're really rooted here in this reality. And I feel like, and I'm speaking for myself, I feel like I don't really get along with those people. And some of them are friends and family members. And I just can't understand the way that they're living, because it doesn't seem okay to me. And it's not that it's immorally wrong. It's just that they're not letting themselves be free of everything that's here, the materialism, the anger, the politics, and the fighting over religion and the wars that are being fought. It's heartbreaking to me, because I think that if everybody would just put their hands in their pockets for a minute and then turn around and give each other a hug, a lot of this stuff would stop.
There's a book, In Search of Demons, that Richard S. Stepp released, and I was lucky enough to be a contributor for the final chapter, Hey Jude. And he talked to experiencers and researchers and religious, theological speakers and workers. He talked to a wide assortment, I think like 18 to 20 of us, about our concepts of demons. And listen, sometimes we just want it to be, obviously that guy that did that damage at a school had to have been demonically infested, right? Because we rather believe that than just believe some people are just really bad people,
Right.
that make really horrible decisions. And I'd like to say that that's new and that it's only been over the last 20 years. But as I'm doing more and more deep dive and researching, now that I can go back and look, there's been a lot of this that's gone on for hundreds of years. The new horrible activity that's been taking place in schools seems to be taking place much more than it ever did before. And
Yep.
it's real easy to point and blame social media because it shows these people the kind of attention that they crave, that they'll get on social media by doing heinous and horrific things. But I don't know that that would have changed. Even if we didn't have social media, people believe there's this dark or demonic force coming or that is here and it's gaining power. We've become more awakened to the paranormal and supernatural in the last 20 years, I think, than we have been in quite a while. I know spirituality is cyclical and it always seems to come back, especially in times of dire fear and trauma like 9/11 and the wars that have continued on since then. People seeking answers outside of the normal religions and belief systems. But do you think that because there has been more of an awakening, this is kind of a chicken or the egg story, Scotty? Do you think that because of this awakening and this need and desire to understand and reaching outside normal realms, we have attracted darkness? Or was darkness coming and we're just becoming more aware and we're trying to open up and understand what's going on?
I think that second one. I think that the whatever is coming and pushing forward and coming through the veil, if you want to call it that, it's waking up that other piece of all of our souls that recognize that there is something bad coming, and it pushes us towards wanting to be able to prevent these things. And that's like a call to action, right? That's maybe part of the reason why I wanted to be a police officer so bad, because when bad things happen, I want to be there to help mitigate those things. And it's the reason why I will step into somebody's haunted home when they say it's full of bad spirits and demons, because they can't do it for themselves. But I don't have those fears because inside of me, there's some sort of light that just wants to do good things for good people, even when the circumstances are really down. So I think there is a lot of us, and we are warriors, and I think that we're just answering that call to step up and try to spread love and generosity and kindness and empathy to battle that darkness. And that is something that is very on par with many religions, like being kind to each other, right? We were taught that in many religious classes, and it's sort of innately, I think, built into many human beings. But there are some who don't believe, and they are just influenced, perhaps, by the darkness that is rising up.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to believe in the Christianity angle of it, but just about every
Nope.
religion talks about, just be good, be kind, give to your fellow man, be helpful. Before you all start sending me emails and quotes from all the different religions around the world that make it seem like it's hatred to you, until we get a full understanding of what those things mean and you sit down with somebody that's a scholar in those writings that can explain it to you, I am not. We can't just immediately ascribe danger to every other religion.
Right. So, and that's what I'm saying. So I don't immediately get fearful when somebody says that they're a different religion than me. I just say, that's really great. I hope that your religion teaches kindness and empathy and being a good person overall, versus trying to, what's that word? Crusade for your religion, because I don't want a crusade. I just want it. My crusade is giving you a hug and saying, I understand where you're coming from and I appreciate you. Let's go get a bite to eat.
So in your estimation, is there some kind of darkness rising?
It's a good question, Dave. I think
And
there
is
is
that
more.
darkness something outside of us? Or is it just that we're losing, the more evolved we think we're getting, the less touch we're in with humanity and reality because we're so obsessed with, the material and electronics and all of that.
Yeah, I don't want to blame anything material on what it is because everybody likes their things, their tchotchkes and such. But I think that the more time we spend yelling into these echo chambers, and the internet definitely makes that easy to do, the more we can get sucked into and influenced by things that we normally may not have. And perhaps I think I remember this from one of these Nostradamus predictions that a silver-tongued devil will rise from the west, and he had named about our time frame for that. And people are looking for
You mean he
a
mentioned
person.
me in his writings?
Yes. He specifically said Dave Schrader, the silver-tongued devil. No, and people are talking about like the Antichrist, and of course they're looking at some people that are in power right now. And I actually, in my opinion, I've thought about that so often. I'm like, I actually think that sometimes it might be the rise of the internet, that we're becoming our own worst enemies, and we're just easy to point fingers at each other and blame each other instead of taking accountability and just relaxing a minute. So perhaps this rise in technology, not the computer itself, but our ability to reach out and touch people we'd never meet in person, is really what is causing all of these rifts. So maybe if we chilled out from the social media and opening up the blue book every day and, yelling into the void, it might stop a little.
It's interesting. I guess I've never thought of it this way, but you just opened my eyes to a whole new paradigm. We're waiting for a physical representation, a human in a long flowing robe with beard and Jared Leto good looks, right, to be the return of the Christ. And we're waiting for something dark and malevolent to be in a physical form, to be the devil or the Antichrist. But what is the Antichrist? Anything is an Antichrist that does not follow the lead of Christ, right? I mean, that's the concept, is that do good, be helpful. The internet, in a way, electronics and social media in a way, is anti-Christ because it allows more of an angry voice. People aren't taking the time to show courtesy anymore. There was a day when I could disagree with you and be like, that's Scotty, what a goof. And that's the extent of my anger.
Yeah.
Now it's, he likes red and green and blue flashing lights. What a moron. This guy's a complete waste of human flesh. What? And you look at it and you're like, you're really upset because he has colored lights behind him? That is your sticking point? That's what you're going to allow to burrow into your soul and make hatred grow? And it's so weird to me that it's like that now, that and because everybody feels that their opinion matters so much, and it does, but it doesn't mean it needs to be spoken. It doesn't need to be perpetrated, right? My parents didn't care for some of my friends or my friends' parents in the way they raised them, but you never heard my parents complaining to me or my friends or anything about those belief systems. I might overhear them talking about it, but that was the extent of it. And then they could be very polite and cordial when in the presence of those people. Some would say, well, that's just being fake. No, I think that's being cordial, because we can agree to disagree and still be friendly with one another.
Right. Just because I don't like this much of what you have to say doesn't mean I don't like everything. You know what I mean? I don't like when my dog bites me, but I love my dog totally, but not when he bites me. So, it's okay. It's okay to not like a little bit and still love the whole person,
Right.
So that's just how I feel. And I always want to give people that opportunity to show me who they are. So when people come to me and they have something negative to say about another person, I say, reserve your opinion. I'm going to reserve mine. When I meet this person, I'm going to form my opinion and they'll show me who they are. It's okay. And that's sort of just who I am as a person. And I wasn't always that way, people. Believe me, I was one of the judgiest people you could ever meet for a long time. And then, when I started doing all of this mediumship and getting into the paranormal and making really good, true friends, I realized that I don't need to judge. And let me tell you something, in the paranormal field, we judge the living daylights out of each other because we all want to be right in some way. But I think that when we take that step back and we say, like, I like what you have to say, I'm going to examine that a little bit more. It makes us less judgy and more open to the world. And, that's just here from our little world in the paranormal. I bet you that applies in so many different aspects and things that we do in life, that we can make life better if we just think that way.
Yeah, if we weren't so detailed on allowing the hatred to build, to lean into it. Richard Estep this weekend talked about the Force. and there is this energy that is around us that we can plug into. And, you know, to loosely quote in Star Wars, right, that lean into the dark side. It's so easy. It's right there. It's always brewing right beneath who we are. There's strength in it, and there's strength in numbers. And we see that because the more angry and hatred people put out there, the more it grows and it feeds itself. And I look at that element of it and I think, you know, why is it so hard? I think people, maybe I'm immature or naive. I think people want to get along. I think people want to care, but I think they've lost touch with that element. You know, I following that real quickly, I had a discussion with a friend today, briefly asking, how am I doing with all the change that's happened in my life over the last 90 days? And I even look back at all the change that's taken place over the last decade for me. And I said, do you know what I realized this weekend is being at a conference, being Darkness Dave, being the personality people see on TV and radio. I know that guy. I can be that guy anytime. I don't know that I know who I am anymore. I feel like I've lost the humanity of what is Dave Schrader. I know what expectations are. I know the roles I filled, but I sometimes step back and I'm like, but I don't know that I'm me anymore.
Yeah.
And
so
does that sound weird? I mean, you're a medium,
no,
you deal with that.
So,
it almost sounds to me like a ghost in the afterlife. I knew what I was when I was there. I don't know what I am now.
So there's so many different things I could say about this, Dave. It's so interesting to me. There are titles that we've held in our lives. There are jobs that we held. There are things that we've done. There are important things that we're doing right now. When you ask me about myself, I don't immediately tell you about the things that I do on the internet or my mediumship. If you ask me who I am, I'm not going to tell you about my profession. I'm going to tell you that I'm Scott. It's nice to meet you. I like to have fun. I like to be silly. I like to have good conversations with people. I love my children and my family, and I love my friends very much. That's who I am. And no matter what shirt I have on, no matter what role I'm playing at the moment or what I've done in the past, those things really don't identify me. What identify me are the fact that I know, and I hope that you know, that if you call me on the phone and I pick it up, God willing, and you're like, Scott, I need help, I'll say, what do you need? I got you. And that's what I want everybody to remember. Like, that's what you are. You're not your profession to me. You're not the things that you've accomplished in your life. You're your character. And furthermore, what you just said, Dave, is really interesting. There's a gentleman I follow that some people may know. His name is Kevin Smith from Clerks. And he recently spoke about this really publicly, that he had a big mental issue where he wasn't sure who he was anymore. And he talked about a therapy session where he said that he told his therapist that he didn't know who he was. He felt like he was climbing inside of the Kevin Smith machine and going out in public and being Kevin Smith. But when he got home, he had no idea who he was anymore. And I think that that's pretty much what you just said. So I can tell you who you are from my perspective. You're a super kind guy who will go out of his way to do anything for everyone. And you're full of love and compassion, but you have feelings that can get hurt and manipulated as well. And because you care so much, that affects you deeply. So it is easy for you to be deep and caring for everybody, but it is hard for you to do that for yourself because you're doing it for everyone else all of the time. And that's who Darkness Dave is. He is the guy who's going to sign all of the autographs. He's going to do all the photographs. He's going to answer every question. He's going to show up every single week and put out a podcast because people expect it. But who's Dave?
Almost every week. Sometimes I have to play a replay because I'm out of town. But yeah, I get your point, Scott.
Yeah. So that's how I feel about that. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Let's do this. We got to take just a very quick break. We'll come back. We've got a lot more to discuss. Scotty Davis, our guest this evening. We'll get to some of your emails when we return to the Paranormal 60.
Oh, are you reading me? Come in. Hello? Greetings from the Shadow, and welcome to Shadow Zine. My name is Jeff Belanger. I'm an author, podcaster, and explorer of the unexplained. For 30 years, I've been investigating the paranormal, UFOs, monsters, and things that bump in the night. Lately, you may have noticed how major TV networks and even social media networks have been pushing our favorite subject back into the shadows. I say good. That's why I launched Shadow Zine. a monthly underground publication that covers your favorite topics in depth by some of the leading writers and researchers out there. If you're looking for 30-second TikTok clips, go somewhere else. If you're ready for a deeper dive, put down your phone and pick up Shadowzine. You can't find it in stores. This is old school print. Head to shadowzine.com and be part of the underground revolution. That's shadowzine.com, and I'll see you in the shadow.
And the brand new issue, number 8, is out and available. The Warren UFO Incident. I am the author of this month's Shadowzine. We take you into the very remarkable story of, I think, one of the best UFO encounters ever because of who was involved and the physical evidence that was left behind. And here we are. This took place in 1979 in Warren, Minnesota. And there are still stories and evidence to be revealed. As a matter of fact, when I got a chance to investigate it last year, I found a piece of evidence that I had reviewed, and that information is inside the brand new issue of Shadowzine. It's pretty exciting. I'm excited to be a part of this in any small way. So check it out, and you can go to shadowzine.com. You can order the issues there. They're $10 a copy, or you can go right to my website at paranormal60.com. That's paranormal60.com. And you can order a signed copy from my site, or you can just go get the unsigned copies directly from Shadowzine. It's out and available right now. I also want to make a big mention this weekend. Exciting times. I'm going to be out in, I think it's Glen Beulah, Wisconsin at the Great Lakes Paracon. And I'll be out there with my buddies, Aaron Sagers, Richard Estep, John Tenney, Heather Taddy. A lot of other great speakers are going to be on hand all weekend long. We'd love to see you there. You can get more information at darknessevents.com. So if you are in and around the Wisconsin area and you would like to come out to a really cool conference at a haunted school, that's right, it takes place at a haunted school, then you can come out this weekend. It is very affordable, a lot of fun. All the information and links are right at darknessevents.com. Scotty Davis, the medium, our guest this evening, as usually we do this with Scotty and Sarah. But Sarah's on the road traveling as well. We wish her safe travels, along with all of the listeners and followers of her that are out traveling. I believe it's Ireland with her right now. Let's dive back in, Scotty. And I've got a couple of emails I'd like to. Yeah, thanks. I like the glasses. Here we go. Hey there, Dave and gang. I guess that makes you the gang this week, Scotty. Quite a few years ago, I had a very unusual dream. This paper appears, sort of like the map did at the beginning of the TV show Bonanza. Then these symbols start appearing, and a voice tells me that I need to read this. The voice tells me that it is important that I know what it says. Try as I might, I can't understand what is written, and I tell the voice that I hear that I'm not able to read it because it's in a language I do not understand. As fast as it appeared, the vision leaves, and I wake up. I don't remember any of the symbols and would like to know if there's a way I can try to go back into this dream again or have that image appear. That comes from Becky in California. This is a new one on me, brother. That's phenomenal. What a crazy set of circumstances. And that you're seeing something that's being played out for you, but you're not able to remember it. What's your suggestion on this, Scotty?
So I'm a big fan of lucid dreaming. This is a really interesting technique that allows you to go into your dreams and manipulate them. It takes practice, but if before you go to sleep, you tell yourself, hey, when I go to sleep tonight, I'm going to remember my dream and I want to remember the paper. And if you just say that to yourself a couple times right before you go to sleep for a couple, I don't know how long it might take, but for me, it would take a couple days for that to take effect. Your mind, your soul will start to connect and you will start to have that dream and put yourself in that place, and it will be less of a fleeting moment and more of something that you can grasp onto. And the idea is that as soon as you wake up, you have a pen and paper next to you and you write these things down so that every time you have a piece to the puzzle and a little clue that you can go back to in this reality and put things together. It sounds like a spirit guide was trying to show you something, and perhaps they want you to focus a little bit more. You know, sometimes we get signs while we're awake all the time and we're not paying attention and we miss them. Somebody was very pointed to say like, hey, I need you to pay attention. And I don't know if we're the best people to give you this advice, but I think we're in a good position. A little bit of lucid dreaming for you may help reveal a roadmap that you need to follow. And I do say thank you to my dad, Tom Davis, who watches the Western Channel all the time, so that I know what Bonanza is and I know exactly what reference you're making.
You can also keep an audio recorder right next to the bed. I've suggested that for people that have a
great.
hard time is turn on your recorder, open up your notebook, start talking to the recorder so that you're engaging that part of your brain about the memory as little as you've got, and start drawing in the notebook immediately whatever images you can remember. Because don't worry about getting them right. Just draw the images as you can remember, even if it's only one or part of an image. I think the more you do that, the more it's going to cement into your brain, and you're going to be allowed to start accessing and seeing more of it. But if you're like me, I don't want to wake up and turn on a light and start writing because I'm afraid it's going to, mess with me. I grab my recorder and I'll just start. Okay, I just had this very strange dream. I was in a, megaplex movie theater with my buddy Scott Davis watching the new Batman movie when these symbols started flashing on the screen that were like moons and stars and this and that. And then you can go back and listen to, then when you're done, just set it down, go back to sleep. Sometimes because you're engaging that right then and there, as you fall back asleep, you may re-encounter that dream or pick up where you left off, as strange as that is. So especially if it is something that is bigger than just our dream, it may be waiting for you to reinsert back into that consciousness so that it can continue to share these things. If you blow it off too many times, I think it's a lot like, Scotty, I had this great idea, Scotty. I had this idea of sneaker that has like inflatable bladders on the inside, and you can pump the tongue of the shoe and it'll tighten up around your feet and make it more solid. And you're like, Dave, I had that same idea and I just sold it to Nike. Oh, you stole my idea. Well, how could I have stolen it when we just talked about it? I think there are ideas that are given to people and some run with it. Some grab it and just try to make sense of it. That's why there are movies that come out that are very similar to one another at the same time. There are books that come out that are very similar. There are concepts that come out that are very similar. There's music that comes out that is very similar. I think it's out there. It's all out there. And it's how you respond to it.
I literally just talked to Lauren Hellickson on a podcast about this. We said the same thing. Her and I had the same idea about static electricity and the paranormal, and we had not met each other until very recently. And we were talking about static electricity and how I feel it as a medium and how she is scientifically trying to hone in on it and how it affects the paranormal and ghosts and stuff. And I was like, Lauren, there's no way that two people from completely different walks of life, from certainly two perspectives, are talking about the same thing. Somebody told us, and we are now talking about it because it was important for us, and it's a part of the adventure and the journey. So yeah, I think that you're right, Dave. I think that there's somebody or something on the other side that just kind of gives us all these little ideas, and whichever one of us maybe grasps onto it first here in this reality is first to the idea board with it.
Actually, talking about that, that's interesting. Let me mention, many years ago, I'm not a fan of orbs. It's not something that resonates or speaks to me or my heart that this is paranormal. And I know there's a big collection of you out there that do, and that's totally fine. I did. The more I've educated myself and come to a realization, the less likely it is for me that it's paranormal. However, I had somebody who reshaped my thinking on part of it. And although I may not believe that speck is actually a human entity or an entity at all, I've had many people say, well, listen, you know how people talk about during a haunting, that static charge, that feel, and that maybe it's in a magnetic resonance that it's doing. If something statically charged, some kind of energy walk through a room, the dust particles in the air may follow it like a Swiffer duster. I don't know if many people realize this, but the Swiffer duster is made with it's using static electricity, and they show it in some of the commercials where they'll stick it in between like two stereo components and they'll spin it and you see the dust drawn to it. It's because it's using static to pull it together. So if there are light enough particles in the air and a force moves through it, why wouldn't it, like smoke, follow? So
that's brilliant.
Right. I started thinking, wow, okay, so no, the particulates aren't paranormal, but what's the element moving it could be what's supernatural.
Right.
So we got to look past
supernatural
and see the thing, right?
Yeah, hey, whoever said that's Dave, good job, because I'm going to bring that to Lauren now. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah,
great.
I've actually tried that in some investigations where I bring talcum powder
Mhm.
and I will shoot out a couple little puffs like that if I feel there's something around me. And there has been a few instances where suddenly the talcum powder as it's falling will drive off to the left. Like just kind of walk off.
Right.
And I'm like, why there's no breeze? I'm in a room with no windows open, no air conditioning, no fans. How did that move? And it wasn't my big breath afterwards. How did that happen? But it doesn't happen all the time, but it's happened in a few instances where the powder as it's just, and sometimes it'll rain down and drift slightly. But when all of a sudden it moves like a swish, like something moved through it, I think that's a fascinating element we should re-examine a little bit more.
I think so. We might have to put it to work the next time you and I are together and see if we can recreate that or have something happen. That's cool.
You remember those silly things when we were kids? It was like Wooly Willy or something where it was like a
Yes, the
picture of a
magnetic,
bald guy like this.
Yeah.
And then there was the magnetic filings, and you got a little pen with a magnet on the tip, and you could pull the magnetic filings up to make a mustache and a beard. And somebody made one of these for me about a decade ago. Somewhere I have a custom made Wooly Willy that's my face without any facial hair and all the little metal shavings. But wouldn't it be interesting to find those magnetized metal shavings? So if anybody out there knows how to do this, let's work together, because wouldn't that be interesting to bring to an investigation, not encapsulated in the Wooly Willy image, but to have those pieces that we could sprinkle on a ground where something walks through it. And I know you could do that with baby powder as well, but these are magnetized. If this thing is in a magnetic field of some sort, alien as well, right? Because we hear a lot of that.
Yes.
Things that are coming into contact with UFOs and aliens leave a magnetic charge, apparently. You might see those things jump up and move. It'd be an interesting deal. So if you know where to get those shavings, those magnetic shavings, let me know. Of course, maybe they're encapsulated for a reason. Maybe they're bad for you to breathe in or have around you. So again, if you know the science, let me know.
We shouldn't have eaten so many of them.
Well, speak for yourself. I was hungry. Here's our next email. Hi, Dave and Scotty and Sarah. Aw, I'm a big fan, and I have a question that I hope you can help me with. Sorry, it's a bit long. I'm a first-generation Canadian, but my family is originally from Croatia. My husband and I relocated to Zagreb, Croatia, about 4 years ago because we wanted a better quality of life. My mom has since passed away, but I was lucky enough to visit the city with her, and she was able to show me the house where she grew up, her old school, and the location of my late grandfather's store, among other places. Shortly after we moved to Zagreb, hope I'm saying that right, I went to get a pedicure at a salon nearby where we were living. I was 100% fine, but within 10 to 15 minutes of arriving, I started to feel unwell. After drinking a few glasses of water, I was able to get through the appointment, but as I was leaving, I realized there was no way I could walk myself home. It was as if my brain wasn't listening to what my body wanted to do. So putting one foot in front of the other wasn't happening. I became worried that I was having a stroke. So I called my husband to walk over and get me, and then maybe we could call an ambulance. I wasn't slurring, I wasn't dizzy, but my limbs weren't doing what they were asked to do. We managed to walk the short distance home, and thinking that maybe I might have been dehydrated, which would have been weird, I drank a bunch of water and juice, and I laid down. For 2 days, I was out of commission. For the most part, I was all there, but very foggy and just not right. And I slept most of the time. I eventually felt better, and we chalked that episode up to just one of those things. I'd never felt that way before or since. Now, fast forward 3 or so years, we moved to a new home a few weeks ago, and while I was unpacking, I came across a photo book I had made to remember the trip to Croatia and that I had taken in the past. I turned to a page and I saw a photo that made me gasp. It was one with my mom standing in front of her father's old store, which happened to be the exact place I had my pedicure. I don't know the town well when I visited it before, so I had no way of remembering that his store was located in that spot, but sure enough, there it was. I can't help but connect the two, my feeling horrible and it being my grandfather's old store. We didn't have a great relationship because I only got to know him later in his life, and I can't imagine he would wish me any harm, but is there a connection? Do you have any insight into why this happened? Any information would be greatly appreciated. Thanks in advance, Dave, Scotty. This is from Lily. Now, if you don't mind, I'll take one angle of it and then throw it over to you, Scotty. Obviously, when she started talking about this, I thought, oh, maybe, like some people that suffer seizures, will get what's called an aura. They'll start to sense something, and it may be hands tingling, it may be just a feeling, and they'll sit down, right? And they feel that aura seconds before they go into a seizure. It's something, so you can look into that. So maybe that's your magic ability. Maybe when you're in the presence of a spirit, a strong spirit, you pick that up. But you're also in a generational place. And we carry what's known as genetic memories. So even though you're kind of removed from your grandfather, he's part of your lineage. So maybe being there, that feeling you were getting was the familiarity of it, that sense. And because it's something new to you, your body couldn't understand what that image was. Now, just so you know, a lot of people don't know why they get sick in a shaken camera movie, like the Blair Witch Project. Why do I get so sick? Your brain is being tricked when you're watching this because you're physically not moving, but things are. Your brain steps in and will say, you've been poisoned. That's why things are feeling and looking like this. And that's why you'll start to sweat and you'll start to feel sick to your stomach. So again, it could be that you're sharing a space with a genetic memory, with a genetic family member. And it's kind of like every time travel movie, don't touch yourself. Well, that sounds weird. If you meet yourself in time, you shouldn't connect, right? Because you could upset the balance or create a paradox. That's the whole concept of that. But maybe in the sense that if you're there and you're coming into contact with that, you're feeling this nausea, because in your brain trying to make sense of what's going on, you start to feel sickened or poisoned by the rush of energy and emotions. Those are more of and I say scientifically based concepts, and I use that term loosely, but at least I think scientifically that could explain part of this. But what did you pick up on by the email?
So as I was listening to that, I couldn't help but feel like recognizing some of the signs of deep depression, at least the way that I experienced them when I experienced bouts of like PTSD from my past and things come back and I become very sad and disconnected. It's very much like just living inside of my head, and my body is very heavy and I'm very aware of how heavy it is. And it takes a lot for me to even want to get up to get something to eat. And moving each limb takes me to say like, okay, dude, you got to go into survival mode. Let's move forward. Let's do what we have to do here. So what I was thinking was with the information that you gave us, I would go back and I would do my best to do some research on your grandfather's store. Maybe somebody was reaching out to you to give you information, and you got it in such a powerful way that it affected you physically and mentally and emotionally. Perhaps there's something at that store that happened that needs to be investigated. Maybe there's some sort of trauma that needs to be uncovered, and that you don't know about, and they're trying to get you to pay attention. I find that oftentimes when spirit wants me to pay attention, they will make me dizzy and nauseous. That's like if I'm not paying attention, I'm just like, in dad mode and I'm hanging out. But then all of a sudden I feel like, ooh, I don't feel good. Why? Okay. Who's trying to get my attention? Why is this happening? Perhaps she was more tapped in than she's giving herself credit for. And there was somebody or something there just trying to say like, hey, pay attention over here. So my suggestion is look into your grandfather's shop if you can. See if you can make some connections and ask questions about the place, because there might be a story there that you don't know about, and it's important to you and your family. That would be my thought on it.
Right. Agreed. That just could be the way that they're picking up on that. And because it was so strong and overwhelming, it's giving you that kind of, connectivity, because you're now maybe connecting through time and space itself with whatever energy was there. Fascinating, right? All the ways that we might encounter spirituality on a regular basis and not know it. I've got friends that I've talked to that have different, some will start to get a horrible headache or migraine, and then something paranormal will happen around them. So is it the chicken or the egg? Were they sensing this energy, or was their headache so bad that it started to influence the environment around them? And for people that have a hard time swallowing that, think about this. On your worst day, you get up out of bed, you stub your toe, you step in dog poop in the kitchen because the dog got sick overnight. you slip, you hurt yourself, you got to clean that up. Now you got to go take a shower and rush to get to work. And of course, you're going to hit every stupid red light on the way to work. And this is stupid. Life is dumb. And now your radio's not working and your phone didn't call and you missed the call from your boss telling you you could take the day off. And you go all the way into work to find out you don't have to work today and the world's out to get you. Or is it your anger and aggression? Your tension is influencing your environment. Because I've had that where I've been just in a bad mood. And then I go to use my computer and it keeps fritzing out. And that puts me in a worse mood. And then I look and I have 3 missed calls and I check and my ringer's on. How did I have 3 missed calls? And then my phone's not working. We do influence our surroundings, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of how we started this conversation as well, right? Who's influencing who here? And it doesn't mean that both things can't be true at once, right? We understand that as we get older, like 2 things definitely could be true at once. So maybe there was a crack in my happiness today and something saw it and started poking and needling at me, much like my children do. And they know that I'm not in a good mood. And they know that if they just keep going, I'll give them whatever they want as long as they leave me alone so I can have some peace, right? So I think that spirit can sometimes do that as well. And sometimes it works the other way around as well. So yeah, I like that. It's good.
You're also in a place where you're getting pedicures, you're getting things. But I think of it this way. My friend Dale is a very talented tattoo artist. He's also sensitive, but doesn't lean into that much. And recently at some of the places I've been with Dale, when he's doing tattoos, at the end of the day, he is physically sick. His blood pressure has gone through the roof. His heart is beating wrong. He feels sick. When he goes in medically, they can't find a problem. And I started to tell him, I think you need to ground yourself. You may even consider just doing your tattoos in bare feet while you're standing there, maybe even go out and get one of those little plots of grass and dirt that you can stand on and just kind of ground yourself. And I know that sounds ridiculous to some people, but he goes, but I'm just giving tattoos. And I go, right. And as much as everybody wants a tattoo, and especially their first tattoo, do you know how much anxiety they're sitting with? And those that have had a lot of tattoos know, 80% of my tattoos were easy. There is that 20% that, holy hell, did it hurt? You just hit a nerve cluster. And I don't know where those nerve clusters are. It's not like you can call the city and say, hey, I'm going to be digging up my yard. Where are the, gas lines and this? We don't know where that nerve cluster is going to be necessarily. And I told him, I think you're overloading on the stimulation and overstimulation and the anxiety.
Yes.
And again, for people that have a hard time with that, if you have a dentist or a chiropractor that you know and have known a long time and won't think you're nuts, ask them, say, totally off the record. Do you ever have any weird stuff happen here, like paranormal stuff? Because, Scotty, I am friends with 3 or 4 dentists and many chiropractors, and every chiropractor and even massage therapist that I've met with have talked about that. And I said, well, isn't that interesting? You go to the dentist, you go to the doctor, you go to the chiro, you've got all that anxiety. Am I sick? Am I this? Am I that? What's going on? And you're unleashing all that energy into the space that is filled with all of the same chaotic anxiety energy from everybody else. So we're mucking up this pot of life, right? Having these issues take place.
Yeah.
Am I far off base on this or no?
No way, man. And think about what you just said. All those people you just mentioned, even the tattoo artists in some way, are healers. They're people who make other people's lives better or offer a service. And I'm sure that the money's good for those things, but that's not generally why people get into any profession. It's because they felt called to it, right? Especially healers. But here's what's interesting is here in the Western world, we don't take into accountability so many times that we have to take care of ourselves. Kind of what I was just saying to you earlier as well. We're so busy doing good things for other people. We forget that we have to refill our own cups sometimes because we've given so much. And now we've left ourselves open. There's nothing in that void. So what can fill it? The negativity, the anxiety, the sadness that other people are carrying. So if you are somebody in one of these industries, just even if you don't believe in it, just give yourself the permission quietly to just say, like, I don't want to carry anybody's stuff with me because I have my own stuff to deal with. And I think that would help a lot of people tremendously. So, Dave, you're on fire today, buddy.
Woo, doggies. Let's do this. We're going to take our final break. We'll come back. I want to discuss more. I've got another email from Josh. Your email is next. But I also want to talk to Scotty, and I'll plant the seed with him now. about the concept of connectivity. On the outside, you look at cryptids, aliens, ghosts, and they're three separate things, right? It's like looking at a car, an apple, and a fire hydrant. They are three things. They all exist, but I don't see any connectivity between them. But even this weekend, being around a bunch of Bigfooter and UFOers, right? As we're having these discussions, we're realizing there's so much more tied to one another than we were ever giving credit for. And perceptions, how do they weigh in on this? If you are somebody who believes in aliens but not ghosts, will you therefore see a ghost as an alien intrusion? If you are somebody that doesn't believe in ghosts or aliens, but you believe in animals and you believe in science, the fact that there's just a lot of stuff we haven't discovered yet, will your encounter be something more crypto, right? So it's interesting. Let's chat about that when we return. I'm Dave Schrader. That's Scotty Davis. This right here is the Paranormal 60.
How are you, Darklings? This is Mark Lanou, innovator, musician, world traveler, and no stranger to the paranormal. Come take a journey with me through this place we call life by picking up my new book, Reality Was Once the Tapestry of the Dreamer. It is available at Barnes & Noble online and will soon be available through other vendors. Get your copy by following the link in this ad or by visiting my official website at markalanlanou.com.
Have you ever felt like something or someone was trying to tell you something? That inner nudge, that quiet whisper from the universe, with intuition sharpened by years of spiritual connection and a deep-rooted gift. Winnie Schrader delivers readings that are compassionate, insightful, and shockingly accurate. Whether you're facing a crossroads healing from heartache, or just curious what the cards reveal, Winnie creates a safe, sacred space to explore your journey. This isn't fortune cookie fluff. This is honest, intuitive guidance from someone who's helped hundreds find clarity, closure, and confidence. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Book your session now at lovelotustarot.com and take control of your journey. That's lovelotustarot.com. Winnie's sessions are personal, powerful, and often life-changing. That's lovelotustarot.com.
Before we get to the next email, and before we move any closer to the end of the show, I do want to make a quick mention. Some exciting things going on. That's right. Coming up at the end of this month, September 26th, I believe it is Friday, September 26th, is the launch of the new TV show I'm a part of, Paranormal Mysteries, on Stream Beacon TV. Cindy Kaza, the medium, Dave Schrader, hey, that's me, and Shane Pittman from the Holzer Files, Ghosts of Devil's Perch, 28 Days Haunted. We're all back together again, investigating, and this time we're taking it on the road, checking out all new stories, all new cases that are new to us, and I hope that you'll check it out as well. It begins on Stream Beacon TV at the end of this month and will be every Friday night all the way through to Halloween, our season finale. So I hope that you'll consider checking that out, Stream Beacon TV. There's a link for that on today's program guide. Now, the other exciting thing, Scotty Davis is part of a brand new wave of paranormal programming and shows. Talk to us a little bit about the Signal Network.
So Signal Network is just another wonderful platform full of wonderful people investigating the paranormal. We're talking about it every week and putting out new shows. If anybody's interested, please just right here on YouTube, you can go look up Signal Network. You can find shows like Phantom Forensics, Beyond the Badge Paranormal. You can find, there's just so many people. I can't name them all. They're all wonderful. I want you to come check them out. Come hang out with us. It's a wonderful community we're building. And I hope that very soon my buddy Dave right here is going to come and hang out with us. And maybe we'll even get on a show together ourselves and have some fun as well. Signal Network.
I like it, buddy. We'll do that. And again, people can find it right here, Signal Network on the YouTube channel, right? For those of you listening to the podcast version of this, just go to YouTube, look up Signal Network, and take it
pop right up.
All right. Let me mention this next email. Joshua doesn't want me to use his last name, so I'll be respectful of that. Hold tight. Hey, Dave and Scotty, I have been wondering about something I saw when I was a child and thought I might ask here. From approximately kindergarten until early college, I used to see a dark hooded figure following me around, usually at night. I'd see it in my room or in the corner, the closet, you name it. I was absolutely terrified of ghosts. This thing would scare the crap out of me all the time. It got so bad, my parents started coaching me into telling it to leave my room before I would even go in there. I even saw it watching me the night I lost my virginity. The last time I saw it was in college, and that was the most clear I had ever seen. It was hiding under my desk, the same hooded figure, and I saw it had white plus symbols over the eyes. I had a female friend with me at the time, and I asked if she could see it. She said no. So I reached toward it, and it moved back. She screamed and said she saw movement. Then it dissipated. I don't believe I've seen it since. Any idea what that could have been? Thanks. Sounds like a Grim Reaper, and you freaked them out.
Terrifying is what it sounds like, my man.
right.
You reached into the void and the void backed up. I think you might be a superhuman.
The force is strong within him, Obi-Wan.
Holy cow, the cojones on this fella.
Right.
Oh my gosh. We hear all kinds of accounts of dark hooded figures, right? Usually people don't get that good of a look, or my goodness, the opportunity to reach out at them and touch them, and then have somebody else with you to witness the fact that a dark hooded figure or a shadow retreated from your reach. That is absolutely incredible. Perhaps this is part of the simulation. Maybe, we were talking, I'm going to go with the flow of the show today. Maybe this is your, you ever watch one of those puppet shows where the actor is all in black and you can't really see them, but they're there and they're working the puppet. So maybe this was your user and you're the avatar. And when you became consciously aware of this being, it was like, oh, you're not supposed to be able to recognize that I'm here. And it retreated. I don't know. That's just like a thought.
Maybe it's you from the future, and it knows that if you touch yourself, there we go again, you're going to cause a paradox. So
yes. Oh, yes, the paradox, perhaps. And I'm not trying to make light of it, because there are so many people across the world and so many cultures that talk about this. It's one of those things that the more information that we collect on it from these anecdotal stories, perhaps one day we'll figure out how to actually see them on command or have them come forward to us and speak with them. I hope. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's just a lifelong phenomenon. I don't know. It's crazy. I like it.
Very cool.
I like that you tried to touch it.
Talking about the connection between all of these different style of phenomena, you talk to Bigfooters and they're like, Bigfoot is not paranormal. It's a totally different methodology. It's a totally different genre. Hey, man, aliens and UFOs are not paranormal. They are their own, thing. Ghosts, well, yeah, that's paranormal. That fits in that paradigm. But like paranormal is always meant to me just something outside of your normal understanding, right? Just like cryptozoology. Cryptozoology examines the concepts of these creatures. And once they find it, like gorillas at one point were cryptozoological. There were reports of these giant hairy beings, but most of the world was unfamiliar. And then when they came out, they went from being cryptozoological to a zoological creature. So it's only paranormal until we experience it. So technically, my life is pretty normal, seeing and experiencing ghosts, seeing and experiencing UFOs and craft, because it's part of my paradigm. It's part of my universe now. I'm not the sheltered little egg who doesn't notice these other things, and they've come through the shell to be seen, right?
Yeah.
But talk to me about what you think the concept is, or how are these things tied? Are they all living in one kind of parallel universe that sometimes just bleeds over and allows us to see them? Is that too easy an answer? How do you feel these things are connected?
Dave, I don't know about you, but I have a friend. I'm going to give shout out to my buddy Brian McCauley, who I've been friends with for a very long time. And he is a paranormal investigator, but he is also really big into Bigfoots. And is that how you say Bigfoots? Big feet? Anyway, he's into that. And he's also into UFOs and aliens. And he and I got to talking several years ago. And we were talking about how sometimes we find an overlap where I could be talking to a person in house A and they're having demonic activity, and in house B they're experiencing, alien experiencing things, and then in House C, somebody might say, like, I think a Bigfoot is marching around in the woods out there. So is it, like you said earlier, is it one entity appearing how it thinks that you should perceive it based on your personality and what you might believe in? Or are these different entities that I couldn't even understand if they were aware of each other or not, but are they in the same reality and they bleed over into ours? There's a case here in New Jersey that I've been working with somebody for 3 years now, and this household has all three components of the different types of things. There's alien experiencing, there's Bigfoot evidence, and there's also paranormal activity that seems like ghostly activity. And I have talked to some of the people that we know that are experts in each one of these fields. And when I show them, I show a Bigfoot person, they're like, Bigfoot. And I talk to them about alien experience, and they're like, yeah, that sounds like alien stuff. And I talk to them about ghosts, and they're like, it's ghosts. And it's just now, I think all of us are starting to talk to each other. And we're going to start weaving that fabric together to understand the bigger tapestry that is in front of us. And the more and more that's revealed, the better and better we're going to get at understanding it and taking the fear out of the things that are happening around us that we don't understand right now.
I keep threatening to do this, and I really should, and maybe show it on this program. Maybe next time you're on, just remind me about this. It'll show you how fallible we are as humans to not only miss signs that are blatantly in front of us. There is this really interesting psychological video that's out, and I've watched Dr. Michael Shermer use it and some other people. And as a matter of fact, I'll just tell you about it so you can go look it up. Look up the gorilla basketball experiment.
Oh, yes, I know this one. Yeah.
And you'll see two teams of 3 players, like one in red and one in black. And the person, like Dr. Michael Shermer, will say, okay, tell me how many times the people in red bounce the ball back and forth between them. Not the black team. And when you become so hyper focused on it, at the end of this 30-second video, he goes, okay, how many bounces? And 20, 30, 10, 11, 15. Did you notice anything else strange about the video? No? Okay. Are you sure? And usually there's 1 or 2 people in the audience of 300 that noticed. And what happens is you're so hyper focused on the guys in red bouncing the ball and counting the ball that you don't see the man dressed as a gorilla walk in and stand in the center of them as they're bouncing it around and then walk out.
Yep.
So to tell me you notice everything, we like to think we're a lot more clever and intelligent than we really are. And it may be true that you're clever and intelligent, but things can move past us that we don't even notice because you're hyper focused on their drive home. How many of you have gotten in the car after work, you start driving home, and all of a sudden you're pulling in the driveway going, how the hell did I even get here? I don't even remember driving, because you go into this kind of muscle memory zone, and the whole ride home you're thinking, oh man, I have to remember to pick up dinner tonight, and I got to pick up the cleaning. Oh shoot, and I have to go drop off those prescriptions at Walgreens on the way home. And your brain is in 100 places besides being behind the wheel, and you'll lose time. Does that sound familiar, folks? You could be just so deeply in thought on something else that you miss the bigger picture, and you're hyper focused on one area, whereas there's much more to be seen. So I don't know. That's kind of my concept on it.
I love that so much. It's when I tell you about this case I've been working on for a few years, I went in looking for ghosts because that's how they described it to me. But once I started looking at all the evidence that was presented to me, I had to take a step away from my ghost box, so to speak, and be like, what else? What am I missing? And we had to actually start asking neighbors questions and looking and collecting anomalies from the neighborhood, because I would have missed the bigger picture. I may have diagnosed it as a spiritual issue when it could be something else. And Dave, as we're talking about this, we're talking about cryptids, UFOs, aliens, and ghosts. What if there are other things that we don't even have a vocabulary for yet that we're experiencing, and we don't have the vocabulary? We're not intelligent enough at this point in our history to be able to give it a name.
And what is you see those, like, I call them the walking pants. They're like the stick figures. Have you seen those videos where people are watching through the ring camera and you see what just looks like a pair of long pant legs walking? And they're not pants, but they call them like the night walkers.
Yeah.
What are those? I've been in haunted locations with other investigators and just witnesses, and we've seen sparkles erupt in the room, not outside. It's not like we saw a shooting star break through. We're in a room, and all of a sudden, just like little golden sparks of light. We don't even have a concept of what to call that. Is that multidimensional? Is it ghosts? Is it demonic? Is it alien or UFO? Again, I think it's going to be the perspective you bring into it. But with Josh, what do you pick up on his seeing this kind of activity? Is this something that you would start to train yourself to be more comfortable with, so that you could maybe open up and see more or understand it more?
From my perspective, again, I'm very curious and not very smart sometimes. So I would want to keep walking towards that and find out what it is and start to connect. Perhaps for Josh, that he is also very sensitive and he naturally could see it and was aware of that. And maybe he was aware of many other things in his life that are obviously not included in the story. And, you know, that moment where he almost came into contact with it was enough. Maybe not for that thing to go away, but for him to be like, I got to put this barrier up because I don't want to see this anymore. Right. So like we tell everybody, like, children are very perceptive to the other side and the things that are happening, but we tell them no. So often they lose it. So maybe Josh got to college and he's had this experience and he was like, this is ruining my chances with getting a good education, the ladies perhaps, and I'm done. And I could totally understand that because I had been there once upon in my life. So I definitely think that, in my opinion, he's probably very sensitive and is just not tapping into it. But if he did some meditation and gave himself permission, he could probably see that again and see where it leads him. Could be somewhere very positive.
Fascinating. I love this weird world we live in, Scotty. And the
Me
weirder
too,
it gets, the more I like it, because it takes me out of the horrors of reality and allows me to imagine and just kind of spend time in that area. And I think sometimes that's why we do. It's real easy for the outsiders and skeptics to say, see, because you're predisposed to it. But I think that's okay. I've been talking a lot about this in my talks lately. I think the people that have more experiences and that are drawn to this are people that have imagination and continue to engage that imagination. And I'm not saying there aren't a lot of people out there that are attorneys and accountants and whatever that don't have that imagination anymore. But as we get older, we're told to turn that off.
Right.
And what if imagination is really just the magic of the world around us that we are able to tap into? And because we are allowing ourselves this, it becomes an easier boundary for things to cross because we are looking for that magic. Doesn't mean we're creating it or faking it or hallucinating it, but because we're open to it, we have it more. You know, I see a lot of people that are experiencers, and people will tell me, Dave, come on, you saw Bigfoot, you've seen UFOs, you may have had an alien encounter and ghosts. Yeah, right. You lost me after that. I followed you into the ghost camp, but the fact that you're seeing all of this, well, why? Because as I become more aware, it's like, well, I'm attracted to blondes. So obviously the only women I'm going to ever notice are blondes, which isn't true. Right. There's beautiful brunettes and redheads and women that have shaved their hair off and platinum blondes and strawberry blondes. And there's a whole variety. Just because this is my reality at the moment doesn't mean that these other things stop existing, or that you know, sometimes when you get so hyper focused and tunnel vision, you miss all the rest. Like we were talking that psychological video where the gorilla walks in, you become so hyper focused that you might miss your sign. And everybody's always asking for that, right? Scotty, where's my sign? My mom and dad must not love me. They've crossed over and I never get a sign. And I'm not mocking you. I'm just trying to convey that horror and that sadness. But sometimes it's a sign. It may not be the sign you want. It isn't a dove landing on your windowsill that opens its wings and it says, I love you in the feathers. You're not getting that clear a sign. But sometimes if you just allow yourself to see beyond your expectations, you'll start to see the other things that exist. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, folks like you and I, and perhaps much of the audience, we put ourselves way out of the way to try to experience these things. If you came to me and were like, Scott, I know there's this place where we can go see literal like dancing lights in the sky, and I've never seen a UFO that I know of, I would be on board. I'd want to go experience that. And I would go with an open mind and saying like, I'm going to go witness, hopefully, some dancing lights in the sky. Maybe they're UFOs. That would be really wonderful because I'd love to experience it. I'm not going to go in there and be like, it's crazy. It's fireflies and drones and satellites. No way. I would go and say, I want to go and experience this. So maybe I would go and I would have a wonderful time and see the things that you're explaining to me. It's about being open and perceptive and leaving my judgment at the door, and letting my ego get in the back seat so I can, as a soul, experience something wonderful that not everybody would get to see.
You know, briefly, I'll mention this before we say goodbye. I was at this event, Phanomicon in Vernal, Utah.
Phanomicon.
Words are hard today, Scotty. And as part of the excursions that they offer these little side packages you can do. Dr. Maria Mayer of Expedition Bigfoot and I led an adventure to Space Wolf Ranch, which is directly next to. And when I say directly next to, I mean directly next to Skinwalker Ranch.
Well,
as a matter of fact, we got to the fence that separated Skinwalker Ranch from Space Wolf Ranch. I put my arm over the fence just to say part of me has been in Skinwalker Ranch, and I caught an EVP there, right? But there was another gathering not far away from the site we were at, and there were people there that were trying to sabotage our experiments and fun. And they thought it would be funny to be out there playing stupid music and doing things. Something else happened that left me afterwards. It struck me on the way back from the experience. After them playing ABBA and I Get Knocked Down, But I Get Up Again by Chumbawamba and other stupid songs to try to distract us, they finally seemed to peter out. And then we began to hear indigenous people chanting and drumming. And I thought, oh God, now they're just being goofballs or trying to, throw that angle in. The next day I went in and we were listening to a talk at Phanomicon. And one of the speakers was showing topographical mapping of the area. And they said, this is where Space Wolf Ranch is. And Native Americans, indigenous peoples used to meet on this part of the property where they could overlook Skinwalker Ranch, and they would drum and they would chant and they would watch. Now I thought, okay, because our expectations were that this noise came from the noisy neighbors, at one point during this visit, did it stop being the noisy neighbors and start to become reality, and that the noises we heard were that. But of course, I couldn't go to the person because that person was in attendance at the event. I couldn't go to them and openly say, okay, we heard the music. I get your point. You don't want us out there. It's not your property. You have no say. But I do need to ask you, at some point, did you stop playing stupid music and start drumming and chanting like Native Americans? Because I couldn't trust that they wouldn't either own up to it,
right,
illegitimately, saying that, it was them so that we didn't get an experience, or them saying, yes, it was us, just to rob us of that moment. So there's no way to know. But I thought there's a perfect example. We went, we walked, we had expectations. And because there was another component to this, a noisy neighbor, did we miss a real experience that all of us had and all of us heard because we assumed it was something else? How often does that happen to us in this distracted world we live in?
Probably a lot.
Agreed. Scotty, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, man. Thank you for being such a gentleman and such a caring heart. If you're interested in getting readings or classes, or would like to follow his work on Signal Network, I've got a link for Scotty on today's program guide. Go click that link. Connect with him. He is one of the best teachers I know out there. He is just an amazing human and warm-hearted human. You'll get a lot from his communication. And Scotty, I'll look forward to seeing you again soon, my friend.
Thanks. You too, Dave. Thanks for having me on. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the warm emails all the time. Sarah, I'll speak for Sarah. She appreciates it as well. Thank you.
Follow them on social media. Follow them on TikTok, on YouTube, on X, on wherever you can find them. And there's links on both of their websites so you can be a part of that and see what they have to say. Reality is so much stranger than we often dare to admit. And your questions tonight pushed us to look at how the paranormal isn't just about isolated mysteries, but how each may be a piece of a larger, more complex puzzle. A heartfelt thank you again to Scotty Davis for lending his insight, and to you, my darklings, for helping to keep this curiosity alive. Together, we keep exploring the shadows, searching for light in the unknown. We'll cover that and more as we continue to roll this out. And I hope that the darkness of this world gets just a little brighter with the information that we share here every week. I'm Dave Schrader, and thank you for listening to our Paranormal 60.